Hello, this is Datsun Tran. I'm a 2020 Leicester Prize finalist, and this will be a beginner's introduction to the art of portraiture in the spirit of Chinese calligraphy. You'll learn about the different techniques employed with a Chinese brush and the different looks you can achieve with differing amounts of water, speed, and pressure. Hopefully, you've got all the equipment needed. And yeah, let's just have some fun. Hopefully, this session will leave you with the basics to go on and experiment on your own. Okay, here is some paper. I've just got some mulberry bark fibre paper. You paint on the rougher side, the smoother side's the backing. Okay, then I've got 3 brushes, 3 different sizes, because it's important to have the right size for the right stroke you're going for. Next is a holder with some ink in it. I've got this liquid pine ash ink. You can get an ink stick if you want, but this is the easier method. And here's a container with some water that you'll be diluting your ink with. Okay, now how to hold the brush. This is the traditional method. It's made for painting with the paper on the flat surface, but I tend to paint on a wall, so I hold my brush the normal Western way. And yeah, you could sort of just work any angle with this, get a thin line, get a thick line. It's good to do some warm-up exercises because this will loosen up your wrists and also just get you ready to paint what you actually want to paint. So just use a piece of paper to do what you like, get the feel of it, use straight ink, mix it with some water, split the brush, get different looks, and just generally get used to the feel of the ink on the paper. Use this time to just don't worry about getting things right or wrong. Just play with it. Put some water on the paper first. Add some ink to it. See how that blooms. Split the brush. Get a wide line. Tilt the brush to get a wider line. Hold it straight against the paper to get a thin line, and just play and practice. And don't worry about what it looks like at this point. Okay, this is my reference image. I've chosen a proboscis monkey just because I like how expressionistic these monkeys are. And what I'm going to start with is by working on the shadow parts of the animal. I tend to work this way because it allows me to add some water while it's still wet to make it bloom and give you a mid-tone with the shading. So yeah, you start with the darkest bits, and I tend to just clean the brush with some water, then touch the edge of the ink where I've already got the paper, and this creates a bit of shadow. This will give you sort of a tonal gradation, and then I just go back to the black again and repeat the process. But at this point, think of the animal that you're painting. Is it small and agile? Is it big and hulking? And this should give you a clue as to what sort of brushstroke you should be using. Like if you're doing a rhinoceros, use bigger blocks of color. Use a bigger brush than you need to, and try to get the feel of the size and the spirit of the animal in your painting. And yeah, just experiment. Here is my second reference image, another jumping proboscis monkey. So just keep practicing and repeating the process of working on the shadow, the darkest parts of your reference image. And while the ink is still relatively wet on this paper, touch it up with some water and just use the water to make your midtones. We're working on unsized paper here. There is sized paper, which it gives you a bit more control, but also it doesn't bloom as well. This is considered the harder kind of paper to work with, but it's the one I prefer. So just keep playing, and there's always a new sheet of paper. If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. You're still learning, and I'm still learning as I do this as well. So just play. That's the most important part about this. Think about what you're painting and try to get the feel of the essence of the character with your brushstroke. Let that communicate how you want the animal to make you feel. And yeah, I think monkeys are really good for that because they are very similar to us, but yeah, well, I find they are anyway, and that playfulness. And next up, I'm going to use the exact same reference image and do a simplified version of the monkey, because it's just to show the many options you have depending on what sort of stroke you have to abstract and simplify and exaggerate from the reference image that you've got to further communicate the essence of the animal. So yeah, just keep playing with that, and try many different animals. I tried many different versions of the same reference image. That's always fun, and you'll be interested to see what you get sometimes. And for the portrait part of it, after the warm-ups with the animals, I've chosen a photo of my daughter playing in a little creek. And yeah, I approach this in the same way. I think about who my daughter is, her personality, and from that, I try to communicate the way she feels to me in this painting. But I approach it the same way. I work with the shadow first to give the painting a bit of structure, and from that, I'll just keep cleaning the brush, loading it up with water again, and just making it bloom to get the midtones, and leaving the highlights as is. Sometimes I'll use the smaller brush to do the fine detail, and next I'll use the larger brush just to get a bit of looseness in there and cover a large area of the paper. And at this point, you might want to start thinking about where the figure is sitting in terms of composition in the paper. If you want to create the sense of space, you better leave a lot of negative space, or else it's going to start looking very crowded. Which could be something you're going for with your particular portrait. Yeah, with my daughter, she's very inquisitive and playful, and I sort of want to get that slight uncertainty, but also that inquisitiveness into the picture. But yeah, depending on what you've chosen, try to match what you want to say about the person with the way you paint it. Yeah, now I'm just starting to paint around the areas around my daughter, using random strokes to create a sort of a rougher look for the scrub and the grass. And yeah, you see me tilting the brush there to get a wider line. And splitting the brush also creates. It's great for painting grass, because it does give you that look that you want. Um, yeah, now I'm just watering down the ink a bit more just to get some lighter areas. Yeah, just basically filling in the photo. Just it doesn't matter if it doesn't look exactly like the photo. What matters is that it still communicates the kind of person and that you're painting and the space that they're in. And you can always start again. I did 5 versions of this before I was happy with 2 of them. So there is a failure rate, but I wouldn't call it a failure rate. It's just a learning process, really. And that's the thing you have to understand, that you're always going to be learning, I think anyway, because I'm still learning and I've been doing it for a very long time. Now I'm just using a slightly bigger brush to work on the ripples and the rest of the hill. Using the largest brush here to get the water down, so when I put the ink on, it just blooms nicely. I just love the randomness and the chaotic look of the blooming ink on water a lot of the time. And these things, I don't like to control these things too much, as long as the sense of the person is there. I just like to let the ink and the water do its thing. So there we have it. There's the portrait of my daughter. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've had some successes and you've learnt some things with this course. This is just the introduction, so yeah, the most important thing is to play. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you painting some Chinese calligraphy out there. Okay, see ya.